Hello finals players, in this video I'm going to be sharing 5 tips that I'm pretty sure will help you get better at your finals gameplay. These will mostly be focused around strategy, not mostly stuff just like aim better or throw your grenades at the right time, because the finals is not all just shoot and kill. It is some strategy, and this is what I would like to cover in this video. So, you don't have to, by all means, this is your choice, but subscribe and like, this would help a lot. And let's go ahead and get started. And starting off with tip number 1, adjust your build. Now what I mean by this is not to overhaul your build entirely, necessarily, because your build could be good. It's just, you have to think about what role your weapon is. Like, for example, if you're going to be running stun gun on a sniper, you're not going to be really having close range encounters that much, so you're going to have to think about what kind of gadgets would be useful for your kind of weapon. For example, with the M11 on light, for example, you're not going to be using tracking dart because you're going to be close enough to know where they are at most times. And with heavy, for example, you're not going to be running mesh shield on sledgehammer because you're going to be getting up close and dealing a lot of melee damage a lot of times. And overall, I think this is some of the reasons people have some bad times in multiple encounters, due to the fact that they do not have the right equipment to support their weapon to its fullest potential. And I feel like this is a vital tip when it comes to competitive play. Speaking of encounters, this leads me right into tip number 2, which is to know your opposition. Now this isn't some stupid basic tip like, oh, the enemy team has 2 lights and a heavy or something like that. It's to know how they're going to play, and how they're going to fight against you and your team, and how they are going to deal with the objective. An example is, the enemy team has 3 lights, which, I mean, this is not likely in a competitive scene, but you know that 1 light has a sniper and 2 lights are going to get up close. That means it's going to be much easier to get rid of most of the team if you just take cover in multiple buildings, instead of let the lights pick you off from the outside at both close, mid, and far ranges. And yeah, so this tip basically revolves around, like, hey, the enemy team has 3 mediums, it would not be best to take fights outside or by ourselves, so we must group up. And I feel like this tip has helped me a lot through multiple matches that I've played, and I am fond with it, so yeah. Now on to the 3rd tip, which is to take team fights seriously. And what I mean by seriously is, don't go push in by yourself thinking you can team wipe both enemy teams by yourself. Because you need the rest of your team to go in and push and steal the cash out, retake the platform, hell, even get a bunch of coins and bank it if you have your team there. It's going to be much easier. And yeah, if you push solo, you're just going to be leaving your team down a man, and it's going to hurt them in the long run. And it could be game stopping depending on how well you play with your team. So this tip is probably one of the most important ones on the list, and I feel like not enough people utilize this because a lot of players think they can go in for, oh, I'll just go in and get a quick pick while my team is catching up, and then they have to use a respawn token to get back in. So that is my tip number 3. And moving on, we have tip number 4, which is to, I cannot emphasize this enough, but play it safe. I mean it. Please don't be a dumb butt and go in doing something you think is right. Decide whether you have the resources to take it, or decide whether it is necessary. Most of the times you're going to be engaging with your team, not wandering off solo, trying to do risky things, and in the end you get yourself team wiped. So, I want to emphasize again that playing it safe probably has a 40% higher rate of success than just drifting off from your team and going to do your own thing. And it is necessary to get better at competitive play. But of course, if you're just a casual player and you want to get better at the game, then do whatever you want. Just be aware you do have a team that's going to get hurt by your absence. And last but not least, tip number 5. A lot of people overlook this, but tip number 5 is to strategize with the objective in mind. You've probably seen your teammate or a friend do this before, but you can just let the enemy have the cash out as long as they won't win afterwards. This is a really good strategy for not exactly getting you out of the game by giving the team with the cash out previously occupied the victory, but also opening the window even further to increase your chance of success. You can do this in a lot of modes. You can camp the cash box if there's a couple seconds left and you're in the lead. You can throw the cash box as far as possible to get the enemies off of you, and you can recover, readjust, and regroup. And yeah, you can do this with pretty much any mode. It just depends on how much logic and resources you are willing to put into this. This is one of my favorite tips to strategize with, but it's not necessarily the most important. I'd still mark it up pretty important on the list of these tips though. I do have a couple more thoughts to share, but since my goal is to make this a shorter video, I'm going to wrap this up now. So if you enjoyed and these tips really helped you, if you played a game ever since I told them, like and subscribe, but this is your choice. If you don't feel like they helped, comment on below and see what I could do better. And I will see you guys next time. But for now, this is goodbye.